stuff when you play against Europeans and Americans, since there weren't that many Chinese people to practice against. And he always did some really strong Protoss timing pushes, actually. But now he plays more of a standard style.
Mm-hmm. So it looks like everybody has returned from their ads. We've got game number 2 loaded up. We've got MarineKing versus XiaOt. I'm so excited. I'm excited. Are you guys ready? Like in chat? You guys ready for game number 2?
Oh, I'm so excited! I mean, I'm gonna be a little bit biased because I am Chinese. I want the Chinese players to dominate and show that Chinese players have everything it takes to stand up to Koreans and, foreigners, I guess. The MarineKing Prime. He's so cute.
Yeah, it looks like people are actually ready, as I got a couple of really loud responses in chat. So let's get going in 3, 2, 1, go. Alright everyone, welcome back. This is Railcoon with Elaine Sun alongside. Thanks once again for joining us today. It's been quite a bit of fun as we go over the last match of the day for Gigabyte Stars War 6. We're in game number 2 between MarineKing Prime and XiaOt. You can see that MarineKing is going to be the blue Terran over at the 3 o'clock position on the Shattered Temple. And his opponent's going to be XiaOt as the red Protoss. So actually I had to switch their positions on the scoreboard, and I forgot to move the score. So XiaOt is actually up 1-0 so far. Ignore that little slip up on my part. And we'll see what happens here on the Shattered Temple. That was just really well played by XiaOt the last game. There's no other way to describe it. He outmaneuvered, he outplayed MarineKing. And it was just really, really impressive. So I'm looking forward to seeing another really good game here in Game 2. Possibly a MarineKing win for an epic third game, but I'll take anything at this point because that first game was just so entertaining.
Yeah, that game really made me love XiaOt's style. It's so... We didn't see... Usually when we see Protoss players, we get excited when they do something creative like, Warp Prism craziness. But he just took a very basic build, very basic units, and then outmaneuvered him.
Yeah.
So that's something, that's like boxer level. When you outmaneuver somebody and so do something creative with the basic units that everyone else uses.
Yeah, I mean, he only had one Immortal. One. Count it. And that flank...
And he sent it into the right spot. He
that flank was even like a big flank. It was one Immortal, 3 Zealots, and a Sentry. And you're thinking, okay, that's not that many units against a gigantic Terran army. But he attacked from 2 other angles at the same time. He pulled probes, and he got that Immortal right onto the tanks. And with everything else going on the other side of the battlefield, MarineKing couldn't afford to withdraw his Marines to protect his tanks. Without the tanks, he just couldn't win that battle, so he just completely got outthought. He got outplayed there. It's really, really well executed. And now we see MarineKing actually going for a second barracks, dropping the reactor on the first one. So this is actually pretty old school 2 racks opening. Don't see this quite as often these days, but it's a very flexible build for the Terran player against a Protoss that allows them to either apply a lot of early pressure with this quick reactor, or they can sit back and use it to defend an early expansion. So be curious to see which way MarineKing goes with this. It's the reason why this strategy was so popular for a long time, is that you could just take it in so many different directions.
Alright, XiaOt actually going for a very old school build as well, going for that Stalker versus chase at the SCV. I wonder if he'll actually tech from here. He's still only on 1 gas, so I think he's actually going to go for that expansion. Slightly risky considering that there are Reactor Marines and Tech Lab up for MarineKing, so he might put up some crazy pressure. Needs to get some more gateway units up to defend this.
Yeah, generally when you saw the 2 racks opening, when you saw the reactor first, it was more likely to see aggression, but it wasn't always guaranteed. He's actually going for the quick concussive shells as opposed to going for combat shields or anything like that, and is also starting to put a depot on his ramp, so he might actually be using this to play defensively, which is a little bit out of the ordinary, but of course with the quick concussive shells it'll be very easy for him to at least apply a little bit of early pressure.
Yeah, if he scouts that it was a fast expand off 1 gate, he should just go in and apply some pressure. Obviously he can afford to, not going to be too many units out with XiaOt going for early tech as well as the expansion. I'm a little bit worried about him if MarineKing does decide to push out with some Marauders, because it's going to take a lot of money to actually tech up.
I feel
But if
like
he does just stick on Immortals, it could be a very smart decision against those Marauders.
yeah, it's if you see MarineKing setting up this at the top of his wall, it looks like he's just going to apply some early pressure, pulling some SCVs along with, because he's MarineKing and that's what he does. But what he's going to be able to do is drop a bunker here if he does get into trouble. He'll be able to wall off the top of his ramp and have a really good, safe place to withdraw to. But he's going to apply a lot of pressure onto XiaOt, and we see this quick Nexus. Means that he doesn't have that many units yet. Warp Gate tech is done, but there's no Immortal on the way out of this robotics facility. There's just 2 sentries, a Stalker, 3rd sentry warping, and at this point, XiaOt just needs to give up the Nexus. There's no possible way he can defend it. That's what he's going to do. Intelligent decision by him. Good force field, locking out all of the SCVs, actually. So he's going to be able to take down all the workers that MarineKing killed there basically for free. And that's going to help him quite a bit, as he did give up that Nexus. Both players are now on one base, but MarineKing has less workers. And we'll see if he can actually hold this. Now actually going for a Warp Prism and dropping a 4th Gateway. Maybe he's just going to stall and go for the Warp Prism backdoor a la White Raw. That would be really interesting.
Right, he has to get some kind of harass done because he's stuck on one base right now. He's completely contained. There's a bunker and tons of units down there. Like, he can hold his ramp very easily, but otherwise he can't really put on any aggression or re-expand. So he needs to kind of even out the economy. They're actually still even on Harvesters since MarineKing hadn't expanded, but he is going for expansion and factory right now since he is ahead after taking a 400 minerals worth of Nexus.
Yeah, and if you look at this, the Warp Prism does have some units loaded up. He does drop one of the probe over here to build a pylon. And now he's going to warp in down here next to the gold base. He still has 3 Stalkers in this Warp Prism. So he's going to run, I guess, 2 of the Zealots in the front and then fly everything else up directly into the main. I mean, MarineKing reinforced this containment very aggressively. There's not many units here left at home to defend, so this could do a good amount of damage. His wall isn't down yet, and it's not a bunker. It's just supply depots. So he's going to be able to go into phasing mode, start warping in a bunch of units, and go directly into MarineKing's base, which is basically undefended. MarineKing trying desperately to get across the map fast enough, but he's going to do a bunch of damage to the SCVs before MarineKing can get back to defend, and without any medevacs, he still can't attack up that ramp because of the force fields. So really well played here by XiaOt, taking out so many workers, down to 9 SCVs for MarineKing. The Warp Prism really allowing him to do a ton of damage to MarineKing.
Right, these are some, White Raw level tactics right here. He's like, oh, well, I'm contained. There's absolutely nothing I can do about this. But since MarineKing could not have charged up the ramp with 3 sentries guarding it, he's like, well, I guess I'll counterattack. And that was incredibly effective counterattack, obviously, with 7 Harvesters left.
I think saying incredibly offensive isn't necessarily wrong. That was a very offensive tactic, just not like I'm offended by it. So we can see MarineKing pulling the remainder of his forces across the map because, well, he's got to make something happen. And this is dangerous for XiaOt. He's trying to expand, but I don't think he can hold that. He does lose 2 of the sentries for canceling the Nexus here. I mean, honestly, at this point, he has an advantage, 1 base versus 1 base. He has a Nexus on the way down here at 6 o'clock. I think he probably just should have stayed up in his base, knowing that MarineKing was going to be looking to make something happen here in the short term. But now MarineKing is going for a starport. He will be able to get those medevacs on the field and finally circumvent those force fields. So MarineKing isn't completely out of this yet. He has 1 small window where if he can get in here with his high bio count, drop it directly into XiaOt's base, and even out the worker count, he will be alright, as he does have the 2nd orbital command, but he needs to do damage with this medevac or he's in a load of trouble.
I think MarineKing's only option was counterattacking, but since he did actually cancel that outside base and instead is going for a completely hidden one, he's going to be fine with 4 warp gates and a robot producing units. He just has a robotics bay now. He should be able to get a Colossus out. The Colossus will be able to clean up the drop with no problems.
I think honestly for MarineKing, if he's going to go for this, honestly go for the elevator, get all of your units over here under the cliff, ferry them all up into his base and just go completely around those force fields. If he goes for a small drop, it's not going to work. And I mean, you're so far behind, you're going to have to do something crazy anyway. And he's just waiting too long here. I think this is really dangerous. I think MarineKing's winding up sitting back for too long. If you look at the army count, MarineKing still has a huge army, but they're starting to be Colossus on the field for XiaOt, and if he lets that Colossus count get up too high, then of course he won't be able to attack into him anymore. And, you can see the supply getting closer and closer. XiaOt isn't as far ahead in workers because of the fact that MarineKing had that second orbital, but MarineKing possibly waiting too long to attack here, as there is one Colossus out and another one just about halfway done. With that Nexus down at 6 o'clock, he can once again give up this base and wait for another Colossus, but that Colossus is out of position. Some great force fields to keep it from getting focused down, and that's going to help him a lot. If MarineKing had focused that Colossus, he would have been able to move in with all the Marines and do a bunch of damage. But some great micro from XiaOt protecting that Colossus, doing a bunch of damage with it against the Marines, and barely getting up the ramp to save it, and warping in some more Zealots. Some clutch moves from XiaOt to defend here against MarineKing, and that's going to help him out a lot.
Right, that Colossus popped out just in time to save this base. I mean, Colossus was just a great decision because counterattack was his biggest worry, and against only Bio, he had just enough time because MarineKing didn't attack for so long because he was, afraid of. He couldn't charge up a ramp that was constantly force fielded. He had enough time to get those Colossus up and defend, so you could actually get another base. And MarineKing still hasn't scouted this base, I don't think. Yeah, he still hasn't scouted it, so he has no idea how ahead Protoss is. I think he's still in this game, no problem, because he thinks that he's just now getting his natural up. Yeah. Oh, don't worry, I'm just now getting my natural up, we're even. But it's 29 to 43 harvesters.
Honestly, if XiaOt was only just getting his natural up, MarineKing would be ahead because of the fact that he's got 2 orbitals worth of mules. And if you look at the worker count, now and you look at the income, MarineKing is actually ahead in the income. So normally he thinks that he's actually winning right now. He's pulled this back. He's done a good job of staying in this, but this extra base down here at the 6 o'clock base is just... You need to know that's there, because he thinks it's 2 base versus 2 base, and he can be risky right now, but if he winds up losing his army in a bad engagement, he's going to get run over because XiaOt has an extra base he doesn't know about. So here comes MarineKing poking in rather aggressively. Almost all of the Marines getting melted by the Colossus. Vikings are starting to pick those away. He's only killed 1 so far, but the entire army of MarineKing basically going down here. And this is exactly what I was talking about. He doesn't know about this extra base, so he thinks that he can afford to be trading units right now, but he really can't. And the fact that he hasn't scouted out this base at 6 o'clock is really hurting him.
Yeah, those are some terrible decisions. I mean, obviously, from his point of view, it's like, oh, well, we traded, I got, 2 of his 3 Colossus, I'll just make some more Vikings and we'll be fine. But no, he's falling even more behind in economy, 39 to 55 harvesters. XiaOt's going to be able to remacro out much faster than he will, obviously, with much superior income. Probably will be able to take another base behind this, if not just, pump out more units and be aggressive and maybe deal a final blow.
Yeah, so, I mean, it's a really difficult situation for MarineKing. It really comes down to the fact that he doesn't know about this base down here. And that's why this sort of play can be so powerful when you get behind like that. You have to take a risk, and what XiaOt went for was, I'm going to risk by going for a hidden expansion, and when that works, it can work quite effectively. It's interesting that this is actually working against MarineKing, because I've seen a lot of Korean Protoss actually going for the hidden bases recently. Started a little bit by Ace, who really likes to hide Nexus all over the map. A lot of his teammates started doing it, and it's been spreading around. So it's really surprising that he hasn't at least, sent a single unit looking around the map for any Nexus at this point, because it's not really that unheard of based on who he's been playing recently.
Right, a hidden base is really the best way to just get an incredible advantage. If you know your opponent isn't going to scout much, you can take that risk. A lot of extremely good Terran actually fall to these tactics. I mean, Select and MarineKing apparently both really don't do that much scouting mid and late game. generally, shows interest with that, but I've seen Select lose to Goody on multiple occasions because Goody gets that secret command center up.
Yeah, and you can see MarineKing now sending his main orbital down to the gold base. Not even going to throw down the 400 minerals for another expansion, but XiaOt's starting his 4th at the moment, breaking the rocks to start a 5th at the gold. He's getting into such ridiculous amounts of macro mode right now. He's pulling ahead in supply finally. If you check the income tab, the difference is quite ridiculous. And
it's the Artosis method of Protoss.
Yeah, the Artosis school of playing. When you get ahead, just get farther and farther ahead, as opposed to the day 9 go freaking kill them. But that is really difficult to do against the Terran player, to just go freaking kill them, because Terrans excel so well at being cost effective in a defensive situation. So that's very, very situational. Most of the time it will be better to follow the Artosis method like XiaOt is doing right now. He's going to be maxed relatively soon. He's got 4 Colossus on the field, making more gateways as we go. His upgrades are in a pretty good situation. He's starting the level 2 upgrades. He's getting charge. He already has blink. Things are looking really, really good for him so far. And MarineKing's just in a lot of trouble. It's not quite over yet because he does have these ghosts. If he could get off an epic EMP or two, we've seen in the previous games how a couple really good EMPs can change the tide of a battle. This sort of a mid-game situation in Terran vs. Protoss. But MarineKing not only has to win a battle, he has to take out bases. And, well, for that to happen, he has to know that they're there. If we check MarineKing's vision, he still only sees 2 bases from XiaOt. So that's really going to hurt him.
This base is halfway mined out, and he still hasn't discovered it. But MarineKing is doing a good job of positioning, because if he's going to engage with this bio Viking army at all, it has to be in an open area. Yesterday Todd won some extremely huge battles because he engaged Boxer in narrow areas where Colossus just raped everything.
Yeah.
So, we see XiaOt wanting to take a good position. He wants to fight in a choke, so he's backing up to his natural. Or MarineKing stays around in the center of the map, trying to bait him out and engage in the open. Both players want the superior placement advantage and aren't going to engage until they can get their way, I guess.
Yeah, and that's just one of the things with Protoss. They're very positionally oriented. Like, if you catch a Protoss out of position, they just die horribly. So that's why we see this sort of a dancing match going on right now. Because this big battle, it's really going to come down to positioning. Force field is a good way of changing the positioning. You think you're out in the open and you're not anymore. Oh, but look at that. He actually sniped the Ghost with the Stalkers. So no more EMP. And then XiaOt is just going to run in. There's so many Vikings. He will lose these Colossus, but he's trying to do as much damage with them before they go down as he possibly can. He's reinforcing with Zealots from the gold base. Those are charging in and doing a good amount of damage. He actually did manage to focus down those Vikings with the Stalkers while the Marauders were busy with the Zealots. So great control from XiaOt, managing to keep some of these Colossus alive, and he will be able to continually push back MarineKing at this point. He can just outproduce him, as you can see him pulling back here, trying to save as many Stalkers as he can, but look at how many units he's warping in at a time. That's ridiculous. MarineKing is going to have a really hard time keeping up with that.
Yeah, he baited those Vikings so well with those Colossus. I mean, he didn't need the Colossus to do damage as much as he needed to kill those Vikings. So while he was like, you know what, come get me, and he just took all of the Vikings out, and now he can feel free to macro up more Colossus as MarineKing tries to rebuild his Viking numbers. He has only Marauders, but I'm surprised that he actually won that engagement for the most part, because MarineKing was in such an open area. He was free to micro with his stimmed Marauders as much as he wanted, and kept backing up, trying to bait the Colossus forward.
Oh, and it looks like XiaOt is positioning for another battle here in the center. He's got so many Zealots. Charge upgrade is done, so they are going to be able to charge in on these Marauders. There's only one Colossus, but just he's able to make so many units. He's got such a food advantage. He's able to tear through these Marauders, taking heavy losses and then have to back off. But, I mean, look at this. If MarineKing, after these engagements, knew about these bases, he could send a medevac with, like, 4 Marauders in it and just put a lot of pressure on the basis of XiaOt and possibly get back in this game. But again, look at his vision. He sees the one at the gold. He still doesn't know about the one at 6 o'clock. It's almost mined out.
Yeah,
Right now,
he's
this is where he needs to kill a Nexus. If he wants to try and win this, he has to take out a Nexus, but he just doesn't know that they're there. And now, XiaOt is transitioning into Templar with Storm and Dark Templars. Dark Templar is a really nice late game switch, forcing your opponent to have to use his energy on scans, force him to split up his army to deal with them. It's really great in a position where you're ahead. Just to use those DTs to keep him distracted.
MarineKing finally scouts it. Why? Because he wanted to build a command center. After these minerals, there are 300 left at these patches.
Oh my god! And that's
minutes of the game. Yeah,
that's actually
like, oh crap.
That's a really big deal because this is normally going to be one of MarineKing's bases if you split the map in half, and now it's basically gone. So MarineKing cannot split the map at this point. He can't sit back and play a macro game because XiaOt mined out one of his bases. That's just not going to work for him. He's going to be ahead of base even if they split the map. And that's just such a huge deal. Look at this. Dark Templars in the natural cutting up a whole bunch of workers for MarineKing. He's down to 44 to 74. And this is just, that's why Dark Templars are so good in this late game situation when you're ahead. You can catch your opponent out of position constantly, you can outmaneuver him, you can see he's forcing MarineKing just to dance around the map. He's kind of playing Puppet Master at the moment, and he's just doing such a great job of it.
Wow, such superior control so far. Although MarineKing has done some great control. He's made sure that he doesn't get caught in like a situation where he can't back up with Colossus around.
Yeah, but still, there's just
didn't fall for. He was like, oh crap, hidden base. He almost moved his entire army there to eliminate it and be caught out of position. But unfortunately, most of his army does get annihilated by those Colossus Blink Stalkers regardless.
Yeah, and so many Zealots being reinforced by the ridiculous gateway count of XiaOt. It's just such a good situation for him to be in, have that many Stalkers, Colossus, just reinforced with 1 million charge lots. He's just going to be able to run over MarineKing. He's losing bases now, and he hasn't managed to take out any of the bases of XiaOt. There's a single SCV picking away at the Nexus at 12 o'clock, and that is the extent of his aggression on the bases of XiaOt right now. It's 200 supply to 90 right now, and this one SCV is MarineKing's only hope, but at the moment, he's losing his entire freaking base to XiaOt, so looks like we're probably going to see GG here. XiaOt played really, really well in this series. I can't emphasize that enough.
MarineKing is going to kick himself after this when he looks at the replay and he's like, oh my god, he had that base at 10 minutes into the game.
Yeah, I mean, MarineKing it looks like he's kind of in shock right now, not GGing at all, getting 2-0'd here by XiaOt. Just really impressive play by him, but it's just, I mean, he's trying to fight it out because he's MarineKing and he never gives up and he never surrenders, but he's running out of options right now.
Well, he ran out of options a long time ago.
He still had a couple options there, if he would have been able to scout those bases and take them out with a few Marauders, but if you look down at the 6 o'clock, he actually lost his only mining base to Dark Templars while he was busy playing with the army of XiaOt. So that is enough to finally force the GG from MarineKing. XiaOt is going to get the 2-0 victory. I mean, we all knew XiaOt was a good player, but I wasn't expecting a 2-0 or that big of a margin. XiaOt played so impressively. That was really, really well done.
Yeah, I'm so impressed by him. I'm definitely going to follow him as much as possible now. If there are any tournaments, I'm trying to get him invited because that was some really sick play. I'm still shocked at MarineKing's lack of scouting. If he had scouted that, one drop would have nixed that in the bud, Okay, that was probably the inappropriate phrase to use in this particular situation, but yeah.
It's fine, it's fine.
Probably nipped, but I can't imagine how he feels when he finally sent that SCV over to drop a command center on a Nexus. I wonder if you got an error message for that. You cannot build here.
Yeah, I mean, it lets you build it in the fog of war, and if you check, you can actually see, the green command center over the Nexus, and then you just hear I don't even know what the announcer is, but error. You can just imagine the little female announcer for the Terran just going, error, cannot build here. I think back to like Command and Conquer with the building, cannot build here type of announcement going on, and MarineKing's like, no! Oh, but it was a great series. Thanks everybody for tuning in. We'll have more of Star Wars coming up next week, Monday and Tuesday at 6 p.m. Eastern. Thanks everybody for tuning in. Once again, this is RailKoon and Elaine's son. Thanks for tuning in. Check out Gigabyte at gigabyte.com. They're the guys who sponsored this entire event. You can follow us at twitter.com/iCCupRailKoon and Elaine_son. And make sure you check out our other stuff, youtube.com/iCCupTV, facebook.com, twitter.com, all/iCCupTV. Thanks everybody for watching. Tomorrow we'll have Go for SE2 Cup coverage in Europe, and Saturday we'll be doing, I think, a couple more MLG replays, but it was a lot of fun, and we'll have more Star Wars War for you guys next week. Make sure you stay tuned. And you have anything to plug before we go, Elaine?
Everything. StarCraft. I watch so much StarCraft content. I guess I want to give a shout out to the gun run for casting with me yesterday. It was awesome. Took over the production after your GPU kind of
melted.
Yeah. That was really fun. Actually, we usually cast together at glhf.tv. Check us out over there. We haven't been doing as much lately because we have both been so busy with more StarCraft scene stuff. Everyone, I'm going to MLG Columbus. Are you going to MLG Columbus?
Yeah, I live in Columbus, and it's going to be on my birthday.
Oh, it's going to be a week after. It's going to be like 3 days after mine. I'll be 21 there.
Really?
Everyone, go to MLG Columbus. Hang out with us.
Yeah, it's going to be fun.
Awesome.
It's going to be awesome.
Dallas was baller. Go to Columbus. Also, this tournament is so awesome. I was so happy to cast it.
Yeah.
Shout out to Gigabyte. Shout out to the Chinese players overall. Like, they've been really impressive. XiaOt
is the man.
Yes, he is so good. I really want to see him go far in this tournament. That was the round of 32, last day round of 32. Check out the round of 16 soon.
Yeah, also, one last thing. We did just recently switch over to Justin TV. So if you're new to our channel, you can click that follow button. You'll see when we go online. We only just made the switch recently, so if you were following us on Ustream, you're going to have to do that again. And thanks everybody for watching. We'll see you guys next week for more Star Wars. We'll see you later in the week for more StarCraft 2. I'm so excited. I just want to go watch more StarCraft now. But thanks everybody for tuning in.
StarCraft now.
this is Elaine and RailKoon. We'll see all you guys later. And gun run, I'm making a heart with my hands.
Toodles, me too.